The Galactic War Academy floated in silent orbit around a fading red star. It was a harsh place where future commanders of many civilizations learned how to survive the chaos of war cadets. From dozens of alien worlds trained inside its vast halls. Each species believed it understood battle better than the others. Some had natural armor, some had razor claws, some had minds trained for strategy since childhood. Humans were new to the academy. Most species believed they would not last long. Looked weak, no claws, no armor, no natural weapons, just soft skin and fragile bones. Yet humans kept enrolling in the hardest courses. One class inside the academy was feared by almost every cadet. Advance. Combat adaptation. The instructor was a veteran. Of the Thrax Dominion named Cathor was tall and heavily armored with natural plating across his body. 4 powerful arms rested across his chest. His yellow eyes were cold and sharp. For many cycles he had taught the same lesson every class. Failed the exercise was famous across the academy. No one had ever beaten it. The simulation was simple in theory, but brutal in practicing. Small fleet of cadets was ambushed by a much larger enemy fleet. Their objective was simple: survive and escape. No one ever succeeded. Every attempt ended the same way: destroyed ships, red warning lights, total failure, and when it ended, Cadet would laugh on. This day the classroom held cadets from 14 different civilizations. Stalled blue Cerelians sat beside furred Venari strategists. Armored royalty officers tapped commands into their consoles. The third row sat a single human cadet, Myra Hale. She was smaller than most of the other cadets. Her dark hair was tied behind her head. Her uniform was slightly creased. Like she cared more about results than appearances. When Cadet entered the room, every cadet stood sitters. Deep voice filled the chamber. The cadets obeyed instantly. Today you attempt the exercise again. No one spoke. Many of them had already failed twice. This cyclic ether activated the simulation. The classroom transformed into a massive holographic battlefield. Stars surrounded them. A powerful enemy fleet appeared at the edge of the projection. Hundreds of ships. Then the cadet fleet appeared in the center. Small, outnumbered Panther. Ambush began. Enemy fighters moved quickly across the projection. Cadets shouted commands. The Venari attempted rapid retreat maneuvers. Enemy interceptors destroyed them. The royalty launched defensive drones. Enemy fighters shredded them. The Cerelians attempted precise tactical formations. The enemy fleet overwhelmed them. Strategy after strategy collapsed under pressure. Within minutes, the cadet fleet was gone. The projection turned red. Failure. Silence filled the classroom. Then Cadet laughed. The harsh sound echoed across the chamber again. You fail. He slowly walked between the rows. Your civilizations build fleets and train soldiers. Yet, when faced with real pressure, your tactics collapse. No one answered. Some cadets stared down at their console. Cadet stopped beside Myra. Human. She looked up calmly. Instructor, your species claims adaptability. He gestured toward the destroyed fleet projection. Yet you died with the rest. Myra nodded slightly. Cadet leaned closer. Then explain something to me. Why did the class fail again? The room grew very quiet. Most cadets expected the human to remain silent. Instead, Myra raised her hand. Permission to speak. Free. Cadet gave a short laugh. Speak. Human. Myra stood up. Because the exercise is wrong. Several cadets turned toward her with surprise. Cadet slowly tilted his head. Wrong. The simulation has been tested for decades. Myra stepped toward the central display. Is the problem? She expanded the projection. Every cadet here focused only on the enemy fleet because the scenario tells you the enemy ships are the 3T. Thor folded his arms. Continue. Myra zoomed the map outward. Behind The fleets floated a massive gas giant. Planet space is never empty. That planet has violent radiation storms and unstable gravity tides, but no one used it. One of the royalty cadets spoke carefully. Entering the atmosphere would destroy our ships. Mira nodded. Maybe, but staying in open space guarantees destruction. Ketho watched her closely. So, your plan is to hide inside a gas giant? Myra gave a small smile. No, my plan is to make the enemy follow us. There the classroom became silent. She moved icons across the projection. The fleet dives toward the gas giant. Enemy ships follow to maintain pressure. Once inside the magnetosphere, their targeting systems become unstable. Radiation storms scatter their formations. Gravity tides pull ships off course. She activated the sequence. Enemy ships began drifting out of formations. Several collided with each other. Then Mira triggered the final phase. Human ships vent fuel inside the charged clouds. A single ignition spark triggers a violent chain reaction. Lightning storms explode across the atmosphere. Enemy ships caught inside the chaos are destroyed. The projection ended with the cadet fleet escaping the gravity well. Victory. The room remained silent. Ether stared at the display. Finally he spoke. Your fleet would suffer heavy damage. Mira nodded. Iskatha looked at her. Why sacrifice your own ships? Her answer came immediately. Because survival matters more than perfection. One of the Cerelian cadets raised a hand. Instructor, may we attempt the human strategy? IQ paused. Then he restarted the simulation. Very well. Cadets rushed to their stations. This time they followed Myra's plan. The fleet dived toward the gas giant. Enemy ships followed radiation storms, disrupted sensors. Gravity tides twisted the battlefield. Fuel ignition triggered violent atmospheric explosions. Enemy fleet destroyed, Cadet fleet damaged, but a live simulation. Victory. For the first time the exercise ended in success. Several cadets stared at the display in disbelief. I did not laugh. He looked at Myra. Change the battlefield itself. Myra shrugged slightly. War is not about following perfect plans. It is about walked slowly across the room. Many species here train for order and discipline. Humans appear comfortable inside chaos. Mira answered calmly. Humans evolved on a chaotic planet. Storms, earthquakes, wildfires, predators. Nothing follows perfect rules, so we learned something important. Ankatha stopped walking. What is that? Mira met his gaze. If the battlefield favors the enemy, change the battlefield. The alien instructor remained silent for several moments. Then he turned toward the class. Remember this lesson. Victory does not belong to the strongest fleet, belongs to the commander willing to think differently. He gestured toward Myra. Today, the human cadet understood what the rest of you ignored. Question the situation. Question your assumptions of in question the instructor. A few cadets exchanged nervous looks. Keithor faced Myra again. One final question. If the gas giant plan had failed, what would you do next? Myra thought briefly. Then she answered, I would ram the enemy flagship. Belds. The classroom. Kitha narrowed his eyes. That would destroy your fleet probably. Then why do it? Mira gave a calm reply. Because the enemy would never expect it. For several seconds Keithor stared at her. Then slowly he smiled. A sharp warrior smile. Dangerous thinking. He turned to the rest of the class. Let this day be remembered. The day a human cadet solved the Academy's impossible assigned, taught 14 species something new about war. The signal bell echoed through the Bay class. Dismissed cadets slowly left the room. Many glanced at Mira with new respect. Keithor remained beside the display. Cadet hail. She turned. Yes. Instructor. The Academy predicted humans would struggle. Heel. Mira gave a small smile. We hear that oft. Keithor nodded slowly. I Believe they misunderstood your species. She waited. He spoke quietly. Humans do not fear losing. Myra shrugged slightly. No, we only fear not trying. She walked out of the chamber. She watched the door close, then he opened the instructor login tree. Note: human combat psychology requires further study. Paused before writing the final line. Ever assume humans will follow the rules of war because, when the rules stop them from winning, humans simply change the rules of the battlefield. Asterisk.